Oh yeah. Sorry for being a little late. Just coming earlier today. We were stopped coming out of City Hall with the Cook County side by the name of a lady named Miss Ward, Donna Ward. Um, she's 60 years old and currently homeless. She said she came up there looking for us, and she was gonna ride the L all night. So Danielle asked David Moore to help, and first he was acting, I'm gonna call 311, and then finally he called a commissioner, and the commissioner contacted Miss Ward, and uh, we waited for her until we knew that a ride was coming to get her to take her to the shelter. But there is a homeless. Black is going to be the new homeless if you guys do not get involved. Thank you, Malachi. Um, Black is going to be the new homeless if you guys do not get involved and start fighting, because um, it's bad. It's real bad out here. And we're not being heard, and we don't not, and we do, and we want to take our frustrations out on everybody, um, but the party, honestly, that you guys give your vote to, the God that we give our vote to. This is something that they're supposed to protect us regardless. The Democratic Party wouldn't even, the people that as many black people that are employed by the Democratic Party, they wouldn't even have them jobs if it wasn't for black people consistently voting them in, or consistently working with them, or all that stuff. But that's another time. Hold on. All right, excuse me. So I was talking to. Thank you, Miss Cunningham. Appreciate you, Miss Cunningham. Um, so as you know, for the since 2023, I have dedicated my life to getting justice for my godfather and my mom, and helping out um doing my part to make my generation uh and the younger generation understand that we do not have to consistently vote one way, especially if it's not working for us. And also, while on this journey, I was trying to figure out what is something that I can talk about that can resonate with my generation, the older generation, and the younger generation as well. And I think it needs to go to the impact that the drug epidemic had in our communities. A lot of my friends, um, or people that I know of, every other, like, if I can count 10 friends on one hand, 4 out of the 10 friends' parent was on heroin, was on crack, was on basically alcohol, but crack and heroin. And a lot of my friends are college educated. A lot of my friends have great jobs. A lot of the parents are they're no longer on drugs, or some that still are. However, it was never talked about, was never discussed. A lot of my friends never went to therapy to discuss the impact that the crack epidemic had. I dated a girl for a minute. I actually dated a few people that when I was living in Baltimore, uh, their parent was on meth, heroin. They another person, parent was on crack, and I just saw the, just the frustrations or just the, just little things. And I remember I used to ask, like, would you ever go see a therapist about it, or would you ever want to talk to a therapist? And they used to snap on me about it. So it's just like, okay, that's one of the issues that's in our community. We don't want to discuss our trauma, and what we'll do is we will take it and brush it up against sweep it up against the side, or put underneath a rug. We won't talk about it. We won't discuss it. And that is the issue. And if we're going to move forward um, in this crucial time, especially when it comes to the generation that's growing up and the generation that's not even here yet, we're going to have to discuss our trauma. And I think one of the traumas we need to start talking about is the crack epidemic and some other things as well. So I'm going to start with we must go back in the beginning of the Black America Trauma book. I'm 39 years old, and what hit my generation the hardest was the drug epidemic, alcoholism, mass incarceration, sexual abuse, and the public education crisis, all of which have led to a mental health crisis that has gone silent. It's time for a real uncomfortable conversation about why the establishment on both sides must be removed and rebuilt. Today, we're diving into a topic that shaped a generation, tore families apart, and left scars in our neighborhood and that are still being felt today: the crack epidemic. But we're not just talking about history, we're talking about the impact on millennials and how the policies of the past continue to affect us now. Now, this is going to be my first one, just describing everything that we will be talking about in parts. But Miss Jessica was gracious enough to do this series with me because Miss Jessica one of the smartest people I know on the planet. And I'm grateful to know her, and I'm grateful that she has given me the best history lessons in this little time that I've known Miss Jessica than I've gone throughout my whole entire life. So last week when I was talking to Miss Jessica at City Hall, I was telling her that I want to bring up the 94 crime bill. And Miss Jessica said, yeah, I believe that that's a good idea, but you also have to bring up the Reaganomics. You also have to bring up the Watergate scandal. You also have to bring up, Maxine Waters when she had CIA testify. You have to bring it all together. Bush, all that stuff, and I agree. Throughout the series, we're gonna break down, how government corruption, about the government corruption, the war on drugs, systematic failures that intersected with real people lives, and why that matters for millennials today. Um, let's see. So some of the millennial consequences today, I feel, are the intergenerational trauma, which I say that we have. We have big trauma in our communities. Many millennials grew up in homes or neighborhoods directly impacted by the crack epidemic. Parents or older siblings were incarcerated, addicted, or displaced, leaving lasting emotional, financial, and social scars. Trauma isn't just personal, it's systematic, affecting mental health, educational outcomes, and economic mobility. The mass incarceration legacy, harsh sentencing laws from the 1980s and 1990s targeted Black communities, criminalizing addiction rather than addressing it. Um, Millennials now navigate system where family members have criminal records, limiting opportunities in employment, housing, and civic participation. Economic disadvantage, communities devastated by the drug epidemic experience decades of disinvestment, broken schools, abandoned neighborhoods, and lack of jobs. Millennials inherit this economic gap, making wealth building, property ownership, and generational stability harder. The distrust of government and institutions, policies during the crack era were weaponized against communities while government officials publicly claim to protect them. Millennials often grow up skeptical of institutions, schools, law enforcement, government, because the system has repeatedly failed their families. Community and cultural impact, the epidemic decimated families and neighborhoods, but also reshaped culture and community identity. Same neighborhoods saw loss of community leaders, erosion of mentorship, and a spike in cycles of crime and violence that still impact social dynamics today. Um, and in the series, we will be talking about how crack entered our communities, the CEI, and the Nicaraguan connection, Nixon and Reagan era policies. Um, and I think it starts honestly with the Watergate scandal. So, uh, well, actually, let me go to we're gonna do the Watergate scandal, but I think I want to do that with Miss Jackson because Miss Jackson probably has some more insight in that. One of my I never my mother she never was on drugs. And my father never was on drugs either. My father was an alcoholic though. And alcoholism is a drug and it did it took a strain on our family. It took a strain on his parenting. Um, However, my father did the best that he could do as a father, and I don't fault him for that. I just wish that I probably was older and probably would have suggested he got off liquor a little bit earlier. But when he decided to get off liquor, his body was already um, addicted to it. That when he finally decided that he was not no longer going to drink liquor anymore, he ended up going to the hospital, ended up having lung cancer because he also was a smoker, and he ended up having lung cancer and all that stuff. So uh, that that I always say if he probably would have kept doing those bad things because his body depended on it, he probably would have lived a little bit longer. But I was glad that he did get off those at the time that he did. He's still a hero to me because he didn't have to do that, and he did. So it was something that made him finally want to do it, and he did. So I'm thankful for that. Um, and I've always been born in the suburbs. But one of my favorite movies that I used to watch when I was younger, I used to sneak and watch, was New Jack City. And I was so inspired by New Jack City. Not knowing that this movie was really how the inner city was, and really how like the drugs was really affecting our communities and stuff like that. My mind, I was young, so I was 6 and 7, 8, sneaking to watch this movie, but not realizing that people really like this was taking over communities. This was taking over apartment buildings. Like this was real. I was just like, what I looked at was like the glitz, the glam, like I wanted to be Nino Brown. Like I looked up to Nino Brown at that time, right? So it's like it's like at that age I was glamorizing who I now, Nino Brown is like, what the hell, but this is somebody that I was I glamorized when I was young, uh, because it's like he had the party, he was untouchable, he had the ladies, he just had everything that I'm like, oh yeah, he living a good life, but not knowing that this is affecting our communities, and it's affecting our communities it's bad. So then I would go and watch other movies, Blue Hill Gang, and I used to watch Paid in Full. I used to watch all these movies, and I would then be like, man, like I want to be like these people. Like I want to be like these guys, and but not telling nobody. I never told like my mom or anything like that. But these are the people who I thought were like so cool. And now that I'm older, and me going into the criminal system and going into criminal system and seeing the issues and the problems, is like, when I first turned 17 years old, that's the first time that I had ever went to jail. That's when my mother couldn't do it no more. And my mother told me that if I ever went to jail, she was not going to send me nothing. She was going to just leave me in there so I could think about it, because she done tried and did everything that she could. And when I first went to jail at 17, I was in it was like bunk beds and stuff like that, but they were like these pods. So I was in the under the eight. I think once you turn 18, you can go over to the adult side. But I was still with the younger. I was in the under 18 pods. I was 17. But on the other pods were all the adults, and I used to see the same people go in and out of jail. It'd be the same people that be going in and out of jail for drugs. They give them a little 30-day stint here. Some people be saying, oh, I'm going to go get my program. I'm going to go get my program, but they really didn't care about the program. Some people tell me that the program had more drugs than the programs. I mean, had more drugs in the programs than outside. I would see people that would do 30 to 90 days, because they're coming there so skinny, because they'll be on a drug binge. But then once they do not 30 to 90 days, they're back to a regular weight. And then I'll say 3 months later, they come back in there skinny again. So I just saw the cycle. And then from there, I end up going to prison. And when I be in prison, I would see the same people. Now, mind you, I come from a small town, and at the time, there was a detective that was just very racist. So instead of throwing out, I had a fake ID. Instead of throwing out that ID, he upgraded my probation to parole. So that's why I ended up going to prison. But while I was there, I was watching the same people on drugs. And then I would see people that were my age, right? Or a couple of years older than me. So mind you, I'm 18, 19 at this time. And I remember asking this one girl, I said, you she was I was 19 and she was 21. And I said, you're on you're on crack? And she was like, yeah. And I was like how, what? You know what I'm saying? And I remember her saying she at first got on crack because she had smoked behind somebody, and the weed that she was smoking had crack in it. So she said it's called a wooly. So she was smoking crack and weed together, and she said, and that is how she got addicted to crack. Now, in my mind, I never at that time I never smoked anything like that, and I always think about that. I will never smoke behind anybody because of that girl telling me that. I will. I barely smoke now, but I definitely would never smoke in front behind anybody because of that. And then I remember there was another girl that was on crack real bad too, and she's like 22, 23, and I used to be like, how did you get on it? And I remember her telling me that her uncle got her on it. Her uncle drove tow trucks, and one day they were in a tow truck together, and he was hitting a joint. Asked her if she wanted to hit the joint. She did. It was crack in it. And I was like, this is crazy. But and she and you could tell like she was like back in the day, like she was gorgeous, and if she got herself together now, she would still be gorgeous, you know. But she said when she's on crack, she picks her face, so it's all these scars all over her face and all this stuff. So seeing this at a young age, I'm like, ain't no way in the world I would ever do this. But also when I watched New Jack City and watching Pookie and watching those people, I said I would never try drugs. I would never do anything to look like, if I got look if to look like Pookie, ain't no way in the world I would ever look like that. So it was a gift and curse when it came to New Jack City, because I honestly, because of that, and Dare, I took Dare very seriously in school, and I do believe they need to bring Dare back. Um, when I turned 24, 25, when I was living in Baltimore, I decided to do a little documentary called The Presence of a Drug. And because I was so fascinated on just the whole drug culture and all these people that were in Baltimore, every other person was on meth. Every other person was a heroin addict in Baltimore. So I was like, I gotta do. I want to do. I want to do a documentary. So I did one, and I'll send. And I once I'm done with this, I will post the links. They're like 15 minutes each. I did one in Baltimore, and I did one in DC. One in Chicago, west side of Chicago. And when I did the documentary, it was they were willing to talk to me, and they explained everything to me and breaking down a lot of things, and it was a satire, but at the same time it was interesting and it was engaging. And I did the same thing on the west side of Chicago as well. I wanted to do it in San Francisco. I wanted to do it in Detroit. I wanted to do it in a lot of cities. I wanted to do it in Minnesota, because at the time Minnesota had a real bad drug problem as well. I don't know if they still have a drug problem, but at that time it was really, really bad. So I wanted to do uh, a whole documentary on all of that, and because that is something that is not talked about. You know, people get embarrassed about it. People don't want to engage in it. People feel like, you know, they've moved past it. But have we really moved past it? If we have yet to get any type of mental health resources, any economic resources? Where did it all start from? Like, we continue to deal with trauma, trauma, trauma. We at this point, we are over sexualized. Our kids do not we don't care if they're learning or not. We have an education crisis. We're dealing with we're dealing with um, the lack of drug counselors who really know this stuff and understand this stuff. Um, like it's bad, and if we continue to keep sailing down this terrible we keep, I don't even know how to say it. If we continue to keep sailing down the wrong way, we're going to head to the iceberg, and the iceberg is right ahead, and we are going to end up like like we're gonna end up crashing. Like we almost crashed, and and we can't go anywhere if we do not discuss the traumas in our communities. We could talk about every other thing, but we don't talk about what we need to talk about, and that is the crack epidemic. That is mass incarceration. That is this sexual abuse that we have decided not to speak on as well. And the sexual abuse, the drugs, the sexual abuse, the drugs, and the mass incarceration on top of the displacement is that like we are not going to go anywhere. And don't get it twisted, the crack epidemic and the meth and all that hit the rural areas too. So it wasn't just us. However, but we're the face of it. And we have allowed America to make us the face of everything, including what just happened just a couple of days ago with his food stamps. Now we don't get the most food stamps, Black people. But everybody that News Nation, CNN, Fox News, anybody that they went and interviewed, they only interviewed us. And that's because we put ourselves out there. We make ourselves the face of everything. But we don't want to acknowledge the crack epidemic. We don't want to acknowledge that we're at a point of no return right now. That it ain't some of these people, these kids, you're not going to be able to save. Some of these people you're not going to be able to save at all. That's why I'm pro-military coming in here, because we have a lot of things that we have not addressed that we need to address. And I don't know when we're going to address it, but I know that I'm going to start addressing it with these series, and it's going and that's my main thing when it comes to this. So the crack epidemic was a surge of crack cocaine use in major cities. Hold on. I see you. Sideways, Miss Jackson. All right, Miss Jackson.
Okay, what about now?
No.
What about now?
Good, you good. I was just gonna read about the crack epidemic, but I told them what the series that we're gonna do. But this was just the introduction.
Wait. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, am I straight now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. So I was going to just read a little bit about the crack epidemic, and then that's it. But I told them that we're going to do the series. I brought up Nicaragua, and I brought up all the stuff you told me about, and all that good stuff. Okay, yeah. Praying for it. We need to get you some tea.
I know. I got some. I've been drinking tea and laying down all day, but this is important, and you just said for a little while, so I'm here. I can hang.
Okay, yeah. Just so I said the crack epidemic was a surge of crack cocaine used in major cities across the United States throughout the entirety of the 1980s and the early 1990s. This resulted in several social consequences, such as increasing crime and violence in American inner city neighborhoods. A resulting backlash in the form of tough on crime policies and massive spike in incarceration rates. In the early 1980s, the majority of cocaine originating in Colombia and trafficked through the Bahamas was being shipped to Miami. Soon there was a huge glut of cocaine powder in these islands, which caused the price to drop by as much as 80%. Faced with dropping prices for their illegal product, drug dealers made a decision to convert the powder to crack, a solid smokable form of cocaine that could be sold in smaller quantities to more people. It was cheap, simple to produce, ready to use, and highly profitable for dealers to develop. As early as 1981, reports of crack were appearing in Los Angeles. Oakland, Chicago, New York, Miami, Houston, and in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And that's just the tip off the iceberg. That's just what they wrote in whatever it is that you were reading from. I liken um the example of the horrendousness of the crack epidemic to, like we see slave movies, we read books about slavery, we've heard stories, depending on how old we are, and how old our grandparents were, or whatever. We've heard stories about slavery, but I personally, I don't believe any book you read, any movie you see, or any story that I've heard really exemplifies how horrible slavery was. I believe anything that we see, slavery was probably anywhere from 50 to 100 times worse. Well, that's the way it is with the crack epidemic. Anything that you read, anything that you see, any movie that you see, the actual epidemic during that time is 50 to 100 times worse than what it really was. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible time in America. Um, you almost have to say it's black people pre-crack and black people post-crack, because how black people were before the crack epidemic, and you have to be clear to say the crack and AIDS epidemic, because they ran simultaneously at the same time in the 80s. As soon as you was hearing about crack, you was hearing about AIDS, and it was an epidemic. It was everywhere. um a lot of what we see today in this, we're going to say, extreme ratchetness, extreme wildness that we see in society now, it came by way of the crack epidemic. And I say that because prior to then, let's say growing up here on the south side of Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had everything. And we've talked about that before, Zoe. We had everything. Um, we had black stores, and I'm talking about areas like 71st Street,
Mm-hmm.
75th, 79th, 87th, 95th. I'm talking about even, let's say, like 47th Street, 43rd Street, where it always had, a roughness to it. But still, there were a lot of black businesses and restaurants over in those areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had everything. We had black movie theaters, we had black banks, we had black furniture stores, we had black owned gas stations. Everybody in the neighborhoods, the majority of the people owned the properties that we lived in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was just a whole, it's like whatever you see now, it was the complete opposite. Okay, would
Right.
like it was the complete opposite. you know you was, I mean, you was proud to be black, the music was fantastic. um at that time, most people still believed in families. It was just, like I say, black pre-crack, black post-crack. um and I was in Chicago until 85, right? DC for college, then here 85, and then I moved to California. So, I mean, you almost lost for words, because the thing of it was you always knew men to be out there and kind of wild, but the crack epidemic made women be just as wild. That was what was crazy. You saw women out there. It wouldn't be nothing to ride up to a gas station excuse me, to ride up to a gas station at night, let's say round about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night to get some gas. And yeah, it would be a woman there with her child, her son or daughter, offering up their child for sex favors, for crack.
Whoa.
Um, oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, Women was leaving their kids with dope dealers as collateral. I was eating lunch with one of my friends one day. This is when I was working for the school board. And we were sitting there eating lunch. Her phone rung. It was a dope dealer telling her that she needed to come get her grandbaby because her daughter had left that grandbaby over there for 2 days.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it was serious. It was serious. And that's why I always say, and you hear me say, anybody but from the age of 50, not really 45, but we'll say 50 on up, you and your family was affected by the crack epidemic, AIDS crack epidemic somehow. If you wasn't on it, then maybe your spouse was, your parents were, your siblings were, or somebody you knew sold it. I mean, it was something like you never seen. Money was coming so fast because, like what you just read, the CIA have put those drugs and guns in inner city neighborhoods. That got proven. Around that same period of time, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, she did an investigation, and that's who proved that the CIA had put the crack and the guns in inner city neighborhoods because they was trying to finance that war. That recent series on Hulu, Snowfall, it kind of
Yeah.
touches on that some. It deals with that some, you know. And that's why everybody was so supportive of Maxine Waters. That's how she became, as they say, auntie, because that was a major bust that she did. And at the same time, she did that Rampart Division thing too, but that was the situation in LA with LAPD. But the crack epidemic, yeah, the crack epidemic, she bust that. So when we look at the crack epidemic, because it started under the Reagan administration, right? Like Nixon had done in the 70s. Remember, Nixon had done the war on drugs, right? And that was like the first time that they came down hard about drugs. But then I believe the drug of choice that they were after was what, heroin users, I think, because crack wasn't even around then yet, right? And so
Right.
that was the first president that did something, you know, real extreme with that. It was Richard Nixon. Like we laughed about the other day with his Watergate guilty self. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Nixon. Yeah, yeah. That's I
Yeah,
wrote.
remember
Yeah,
he
I
ended up
said that
getting
when you
popped
were.
for Watergate.
Yeah, we had before you got on, like I got all the sections. So when we do the parts, I got the Watergate, all that stuff
Oh,
on
okay.
when we do the part. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's you're right.
Yeah, but that was the first, because remember, the Civil Rights Bill got passed in 1964, right? And then the Voting Rights Act in 1965, right?
Right.
So now black people, quote unquote, free to do our thing, as it were. So here came Nixon with the war on drugs I believe that was in the 70s. Okay. All right. We scooting right along. And you figure by the time the 80s came, people like me that was born in the 60s, now we're in our 20s. And there's no legal system over us anymore. So now, for all practical purposes, we supposed to be soaring. So what did the government do? Hit the black communities with the crack epidemic. See, we've never had a long time to be successful in this country. If you look at Reconstruction, right? After Reconstruction, You had those few years from what, like 1865 to about 1877, and then Jim Crow started. And Jim Crow stayed for 100 years, all the way from 1877 to 1964, almost 100 years, right? And then you had a little bit of breathing room from 64 to the 70s. And that's when Nixon did the war on drugs. And then, and that led to some incarceration, but nowhere as like the crime bill did, though. But it was still rough. Okay, then, like I said, in the 80s, the early 80s, the crack epidemic. And it was something like you never seen. And it changed everything because, again, because you had women out there. So because women were out there and the money, I'm telling you, money was flying like in the 80s. A lot of boys, young men, mothers was out there, right?
Right.
A lot of guys that was selling to these guys' mothers. The mothers was out here doing a lot of wild stuff. Like I said, giving up their kids. They was doing all type of wild stuff for crack. Crack was, I mean, it was like something you've never seen. They said it was mixed with speed in it. That's what kept people chasing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it was cooked.
Ready
It was
Rock.
cooked. Yeah.
They call it Ready Rock, right?
Yeah. Kind of like in New Jack City. Remember? In New Jack City?
My favorite movie, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's how wild it had gotten. And then by the time the 80s, 90s came, and it went on and on and on, and the government didn't do anything to stop it for a long time. They didn't do anything to stop it until young Bush. Remember, you had the first Bush that got in office, and then the son got in office some years later.
Yeah.
Young Bush. Word is that his daughters got on it. And then that's when you saw all these rehab programs pop up all of a sudden, and transitional housing and stuff pop up all of a sudden. And then the thing with the 501c3s in the churches. See, that's when you saw all the little storefront churches go away. And then all of a sudden the churches, everybody had big shrines. Everybody was big churches because the churches was getting that 501c3 money. Right?
That
If they could say, yeah, that 501c3 money, the same way you see the churches tapping in to this 501c3 money, but it's illegal immigration.
Yep.
They tapped into the money for the crack epidemic. And a lot of those programs end up going away because they weren't producing results. People was just getting the money, but they weren't producing any results. But it changed everything. And that's when you saw music change. Before then, men sung love songs to women. You know, it was about love. It was about, you know, being together, Black love, and us being together. Music was about community. It was about, you know, you loving this woman loving a man. And it, you know, that's what it was. After the crack epidemic, and so many men lost respect for women because they lost respect for their mothers from being out there like that. And it ended up changing the music. And that's when all of a sudden in music, women was bees and hoes and all that. You had never heard that before.
Right.
And if it was in the music, the show wasn't to that extent.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It changed everything. That's the reason why I say it's Black people pre-crack, Black people post-crack. Before then, it wasn't all this being on welfare in large numbers and Section 8 and all that. No. If you look at those 60s and 50s and 60s, film strips and stuff, you saw men holding up signs saying, "We want jobs, not welfare."
Right.
You understand? You know, it used to be a common um, mindset that you would say, you don't buy no Cadillac if you don't own a garage to put it in. It was like a shame to have like a fancy car, but you had to park it on the street because you didn't own nothing. I'm telling you, it's just like a flip. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you and we've never
No.
been able to bounce back from that. We never been able to bounce back because we lost so many businesses. Because again, people pass their businesses down, right? Let's say you had this business for 30, 40 years and you pass it down to your children. Man, people were selling their family businesses like this for a little bit of nothing. For a little bit of nothing. Same thing happened with a lot of property. What? A lot of people, let's say your grandparent owned this house,
Right.
and I mean it was common for somebody like, you almost want to say, trick their grandparent into refinancing their house, pulling money out the house and getting that lump sum, smoking it up. Next thing you know, that property is gone. Or either they was leaving the houses paid for. But kids, grandkids on crack, they would lose it to property taxes. I mean, it was something like you've never seen. And eventually, of course, it spread it to the white community, mainly because, so many white women like black men. So white women start using it with black men and taking it back to their communities. And next thing you know, white men and white women was on it too. It was an epidemic. Doctors was on
Epidemic.
it. Lawyers was on it. Teachers was on it. Remember Marion Barry? Remember
Marion.
Marion Barry in D.C.? Remember that's how he got out, lost out of office the first time, because he got caught up, and they had him on film. He got caught up smoking crack with some prostitutes or whatever, and he ended up losing his mayorship. But then he got clean, came back, ran, and people voted him back in because DC did love Marion Barry. They did love him. He was a good mayor. He
Yeah,
got
cause
caught up.
but he got caught up by somebody. It was wrong. I was wrong. I feel like he shouldn't have. Like, mind your business. However, he was a good
But he
mayor.
got caught up.
But he was a good mayor.
Yeah, he was a good mayor. He was a good mayor, because you got to think back then, DC was like 85% black. And he stood with the people. The people was employed. Um, Everybody loved Marion
But
Barry.
it was an epidemic because the
It
mayors
was
of DC,
everywhere.
it was everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was everywhere. I'm telling you, if you wasn't on it, then your spouse was, then your sibling was, then your parents was. That's what opened up the foster care system to the extent that it did, because it was so many kids that was left without parents, because either one parent was turned out and the other one went to jail,
And
or
Bert
either both
and
of
Bert
them
got a
ended up
baby.
in jail.
And Bert got a black baby off the crack epidemic.
Yeah. Yeah, and then gave birth to what we to crack babies,
Yeah.
right? So now that again, this is what you're seeing now with this wildness, because traditionally you would think a birth defect was if somebody had an arm, missing, or a leg, or something like that. But
Right.
then with the crack epidemic, people's bodies, someone was looking fine, their bodies was looking fine, but they had a lot of neurological problems and a lot of behavioral problems. So then that opened up even wider the river of special ed in schools.
A river of
Come on.
special
And then
ed.
that, yeah. And then the next thing you know, man, Every other black boy was in special ed. Then, by him being in special ed, they put him on medication to keep him straight, to keep him right.
Right. That
That's
was
why,
Ritalin.
yeah. And that's why so many youngsters now are on pills.
Yep.
See, it's something like it was something like you never seen, and we haven't been able to bounce back from that. So because it put so many kids in foster care, right? It affected the school system in terms of now you couldn't touch the kids. It used to be if you did wrong in school, your teacher would get you. She could at least paddle you on your hands.
Right.
Or she could make you stand in the corner and hold the book up. I mean, you got disciplined in school. And then when you went home, your parents got you again.
Right.
So kids were very much more disciplined because you could get it from school, you could get it from home, you could get it from church, you could get it from the neighbors. But once the crack epidemic came, and now you had so many kids that were wards of the state, now the schools couldn't touch them, and the schools couldn't touch them. Now the parents couldn't touch them. Yep. And it breeded a whole bunch of what we see now, undisciplined kids.
Yeah, these kids undisciplined.
That's where it comes from, because when you hear people say, especially older people like me, I don't know what's wrong with these kids. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with these kids. I don't know. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah, we do. We do.
We do.
We do.
We do.
Yeah, we do. Just like when you hear white people zoom in on our stats about crime. And they know so much about our stats. Mm-hmm. They know so much about the crime on the south side of Chicago and But they don't talk about how the crack epidemic started that. And they don't talk about the responsibility that the United States government has to deal with that. Joe Biden, first, Clinton did that 3 strikes law. That came before the crime bill. Mm-hmm. Right? That 3 strikes law. Then after the 3 strikes law, and I remember the thing that brought the 3 strikes law into question was because it was this guy on Venice Beach. They have a lot of outside vendors, and it was this vendor that was selling pizza, and this guy stole a slice of pizza. And that slice of pizza was his quote unquote 3rd strike. And he ended up going to jail for life because that was his 3rd strike when he sold that slice of pizza. And that's when people was like, oh, wait a minute with this 3 strikes law. Wait, this man is going to jail for the rest of his life behind stealing a slice of pizza. And that's what called a lot of attention to the unfairness of the 3 strikes law. So that kind of wavered down some. But then Biden came in 1994. Yeah. And he did that crime bill. And you showed the tape of him talking about it the other day when he's saying that he don't care why people are like this. He don't care about their conditions. He don't care what could have caused it or what it's from. He said, just lock them up. Lock them up. And but he didn't have that same energy for his own crackhead son.
At all. Matter of fact, he let crack come to the White House.
Inside the White House. They say they don't know how it got there. With all the cameras in the White House, they don't know. They don't know how that got there.
They don't know how it got there.
They don't know. Look, they don't know. They don't know. But it just goes to show you how widespread that problem was, that crack was. And like I said, we never bounced back from that. And that crime bill, it locked up so many Black people. It was like, oh my God. I remember I had started doing prison ministry in California around that time, in the late 90s, middle late 90s. And I remember going in that narco California prison. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Narco prison?
Yeah,
That's what it's
Norco,
called?
Norco.
Okay.
It was the men on one side, then it was a pond, and there was women on the other side.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it was so many Black men in prison. It was
And what
you
year
couldn't
was
believe it.
this?
In the late 90s,
Late 90s?
because my kids were still small, and for a while the assistant warden and his wife would keep them for me when I would go out there, and so they were still small then, so it was like the late 90s.
What did anybody did you talk to any of them? Like what was like the main, like if you could pick three topics or three subjects that they always spoke about pertaining to either being mass incarcerated, the drugs, or yeah, like just like or anything to deal with, like did they acknowledge them
You talk
being
about the
that?
inmates?
Yeah.
um well, some of them did, because I had two men that I had to go on the men's side, and and they taught the what they called the Free and One program, which was 12 steps program, but it had like a Christian undertone to it,
Okay.
right? Now, and then on the women's side, I did a Bible study, and mostly that you heard. Now, you want to know what was the men's perspective
Well,
or the women?
both, both, both,
Because it
both.
was two. Okay, the women, their main concerns was their men. You would think their main concern would be getting clean. No, their main concern was the men. A lot of them, their main concern was how it would be to reunite with their children, because in prison, some of them start living, having same-sex relationships. Right. And then you got to figure, back then it wasn't as it is now. So a lot of the women struggled with that. How was they going to deal with their children coming out of prison after being in this lifestyle? That was their main concerns.
See, that
Their
right there,
men.
that right there is crazy to me, because why would you be worried about what your children thinks about this lifestyle that you just decide to have in there because you don't want to be alone and don't want to get yourself together. So you chose that lifestyle in there. You understand? Instead of getting yourself clean and worried about being in a relationship with your kids to get better, so you don't ever have to be in that predicament again. They're worried about the relationship when they come out, and that is that I feel like prison, you get too comfortable. And that's another issue too. Prison should not be comfortable. I believe prison shouldn't be comfortable, because you keep going back. It should be like,
Well,
you've never been
it's a
locked up
difference
before.
between, but see, it's a difference between going to prison and going to jail, right? For inmates that went to jail, the turnaround is so quick, right? But a lot of inmates, well, not a lot, but some inmates that go to prison and do longer sentences, then, like you say, they have time to think, sit down and think. and those were the ones that had a slighter chance of a quicker return. But when you're doing, like you say, 6 months, a year, 2 years, like that, you're not getting clean. A lot of underhanded stuff goes on in prisons. We know that. And that, stops a lot of that. And then, like I said, the women, their whole mindset would be on the men getting to their men and holding on to those relationships. I would say, especially in the Sunday services, I would say, if you had like special requests, special prayer requests, come up front and we'll take your special prayer request. Every woman would be praying for her man. And when I tell you Zoe, every, oh my God. But then when I would go to the men's side.
Yeah, they said, what was the men's perspective? Somebody asked. What was the men's perspective?
The men would want you to pray for their cases.
Okay.
They would want you to pray for their cases. Some of them would ask you to pray like for their protection.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And all those years, I only had one male inmate that asked me to pray for his wife. It wasn't his girlfriend, it was his wife. And he said to pray that she could stay calm and believe that he would be okay in there.
Right, but that was his wife, though.
Yes, and it was one. It got so bad on the women's side, so I had to tell them, really, God, dog. Will you let me do my 15 minutes? God, dog.
We passed the 15 minutes. It got so bad.
It got so bad. It got so bad on the women's side. Till I had to tell them once, I said, if you come up here and ask for prayer for a man one more time, I'm canceling your W. You won't be able to come back. I'm sick of it now. Do you all realize that I leave here, eat my lunch, and go to the other side of the pond, to the men's side? And do you understand that they are not asking for prayer for y'all? Do you understand that? Their mind is on their cases. Their mind is on their protection. And if they really, really serious, their mind is on their Bible studies and trying to get clean, whatever. That's where they was on. They wasn't on trying to hang on to women like that. Matter of fact, when I would come through the Sally Port, right, you had to come through the men's side first. And they had speed bumps there. And so, you had to really be cautious of the speed bumps because it would be so many women and children in line to get into the men's side. When I would go around to the women's side, I could speed through the speed bumps. Ain't nobody come to visit them. And they had like the swing set for the kids. Wouldn't nothing be on them swings except for the wind blowing that swing. It wouldn't be no kids on that swing. Dang. People don't visit women in prison like they visit men in prison.
Yeah, that is the fact.
That's a fact.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And so that whole crack epidemic, it just changed everything. It changed us from being a very, very conservative race of people that was always looking nice, very religious, believed in family, but had a strong work ethic. Like I said, the music was fantastic. To what you see right now. I don't know how we'll ever get back.
Yeah, someone did ask earlier, like, what is the solution? I think for me, I think us starting this series
is
a start. Next, I think we should do it every 2 weeks, and I think that we should start with the Watergate scandal, and like Andre said, God, we definitely need God. So yeah, and I feel like we need to discuss it all up until in this budget, this 2026 budget recommendations. I got it all, Mister
Yeah.
Jackson. This is all of it right here. Okay, they have opiate crisis fund in here.
See, wait a minute. Pause your point right there, because I just was talking to a white Republican last night, and I brought that up. And I brought up the fact that when the opioid crisis hit and meth, look how fast the government responded, because that was a drug that was mostly white people. Look how fast the government responded. Whereas crack, they let that go on and on and on. Like I said, until the white women bought it to the white community. And specifically, young Bush, word on the street was young Bush daughters was on it. And that's what all of a sudden made the government get involved. But they let crack and AIDS run rampant in our community for a while. It was nowhere the quick response that the opioid crisis got.
Or the illegal immigration crisis. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not that. You did that. This is insane. This illegal immigration. I mean, it's like sometimes it makes you wonder what's really going on. And I think that we won't know what's really behind all this immigration stuff until, it's gonna be years down the road. It's more to it than what we're seeing. I know that. It's more to it than what we're seeing. Just like it was more to C-19 than what we saw.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be more to this than what we're seeing. On some level, both parties are responsible.
No,
on
they
some
are.
level. On some level.
No, they are. If you think about Nixon, Reagan, Bush, then switch over to Clinton, then it goes to Bush Jr., then it switches over to Obama, and then it switches over to Trump the first time. They try to kill everything, try to make him seem like he's crazy and all this stuff. And then they cheat him the next election and throw COVID on him. And now he's back, and now he's the most hated because he is trying to dismantle this establishment from the red and the blue for so long. That always they were actors. They both would do this whole thing like they both cared about us, but they never cared about the people. No Child Left Behind was the worst thing that Bush Jr. did. These kids should have been left. These people should. We're dealing with people my age. I'm 39 years old. I'm talking to people that they should have left behind, because we've got people that are 39 years old with second grade mentalities. We have third grade mentalities, fourth grade mentalities. We've got these mentalities that are actually in government.
Because, in government. Look at City Hall. You could look in City Hall and see some of them ain't quite bright.
David Moore, definitely.
I mean, well, we can begin with him, but Yancey ain't quite bright.
No.
Yancey ain't quite bright.
I'm trying to tell my mom that because he's saying that he's Yancey terrible.
He's terrible. I mean, a lot of them in there, they ain't quite bright.
Yeah.
Like you said, it should have been a lot of them left behind.
It should have been a lot of them left behind. So I feel like from here, again, it's time for a new group of people to get involved in government. New group of people, but we also need arrests. These people need to go to jail, Ms. Jackson. A lot of these people need to go to jail on both sides.
That's an understatement.
And until that happens, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen until these people go to jail. So that's one thing that I pray that Donald Trump does get Pam Bondi to start doing and Cassatel to start coming in here locking these people up and all over all these blue
all
cities,
over.
all over, yeah.
And I think one thing that would be helpful in terms of how do you rectify this? I think that when we talk about reparations, right? I think that reparations should be extended up to and to include the crack epidemic, because it's proof that the governments, the CIA, is the one that put the drugs there. Now you got people saying they put the drugs there, but that don't mean they had to use them. It don't mean they had to sell them, and that's very true. However, by way of the crime bill, those people got their punishment. Either they went to jail, or either they dead, or they strung out. They got their punishment. But where's the punishment for the person who put the drugs there? The government needs to be held accountable for that, because it's had a rippling effect, a negativity for generations now. Those crack babies eventually had kids. Yeah, that's the slowness you see now. The mending of families and broken families and stuff, that, all the property, all the businesses that were lost. Again, yeah, if you voluntarily used or you voluntarily sold it, you got your punishment. But I don't agree that the government should be able to get off scot-free. And I think if we bring that level of conversation into the quote unquote reparations claim, it brings forth a level of accountability. People are trying to not be held accountable for that period of time. But you got to be held accountable. The government has to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we'll get on board and talk about that crime bill, but we won't talk about that.
No, you're right. Like that, and then you're dealing with the mass incarceration to the point that, and with the drugs that cause a division in our family structure, cause the education crisis. Even when they started, it used to be the psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist. Yeah. They make the social worker all of that instead of the social worker being the social worker. They've literally anything that was to help, because even like I said, I'm from New York, and when I did see like drug court and certain programs for drug addicts and people and drug dealers get out and start off well. I've like start off well. They took all those. It's like after a certain amount of people, after they saw like a certain amount of black people getting on their feet, the a certain amount of people, some of the taking doing the transitional housing, people being able to get their kids back, getting good jobs. It's like they cut everything.
Oh yeah, you see a pattern now. You see a pattern throughout history. Me and LaTanya was talking about it one night. Though there is a pattern, and it goes all the way back to emancipation. That as soon as we have a few years of smooth sailing, here comes the government with something. Emancipation. We talked about that earlier. No sooner than we start getting in government, we start, being free, whatever, here came Jim Crow. And me and Mr. Blakemore was talking the other day, and this is what makes you say, even in this illegal immigration, what's really going on? Or what part do both parties play? Because when you think about Jim Crow, and you think about at the end of the Civil War, how they kept the troops in the South, right, to make sure that everything was stopped, and and all that slavery had stopped and all of that. Then eventually, of course, the troops left and went back up north. After that, Jim Crow started. So the question becomes, and Jim Crow went on for almost 100 years. The question becomes, why weren't the troops sent back?
Right.
Why didn't the government send the troops back?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's a real question. Why didn't they send them back? Why did they let Jim Crow go on that long? So then you get out of Jim Crow in 1964, voting rights 1965. Then, like we said, you think you smooth sailing. No, even before then, before the civil rights, remember when we had our towns, building our Wall Streets, like we talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, the towns in Atlanta, all over the place. Black people were building our towns, building our wealth, having our families, getting our property. We didn't have welfare.
Right.
Right? We didn't have welfare. So Black people was, as the youngins say, getting it from the mud.
Mm-hmm.
And we were building and we were growing. What would they do? Riot, bomb our cities, tear them up, all those type of things. Okay, we survived through that. Like I say, the 1964 Civil Rights Bill, we think we smooth, we rolling right along. Then next thing we know, the war on drugs. Okay, if you wasn't out there, okay, it didn't affect you as much, whatever, we still moving right along. Then you hit the Black community with AIDS and crack in the 80s. Okay, you survived that. Some of us continue to move right along for another about 10 years or so, move right along. Next thing you know, they hit us with what? The 2008, 2010 mortgage crisis.
And that affected
Remember when they said, right, the mortgage
people.
crisis, where they say over 53% of Black people lost their property with that predatory lending, prime loans. A lot of those first-time buyer programs were bad programs.
Terrible programs.
Terrible programs. So we lost a lot of wealth right there.
No one got locked up though, right? No one gets locked up in these situations.
Nobody got locked up. Remember Carmela Harris, part of her campaign, claim to fame. She would say, I bought the big banks before Congress. I called them to Congress. She did. She called Wells Fargo chairman, Chase chairman, B of A chairman. She did. She called them to Congress, but they didn't get locked up.
No one gets locked up.
They didn't get locked up.
That's the problem. No one gets locked up. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Just like you see, Brandon Johnson got called to Congress. J.B. Pritzker got called to Congress. We know for a fact Brandon Johnson committed perjury. We know for a fact he did, but he ain't locked up.
He ain't locked up. No judges. Can't get no decisions.
Can't get no decisions. Can't get them to lock them up.
Can't get no lock them up.
But do they get called to Congress? Yeah, they get called to Congress, but then nothing happens. I don't understand why they can't get locked up.
I don't understand why they can't get locked up either. So that's
I don't understand why they can't get locked up.
That's my only gripe right now with Donald Trump.
Why these people can't get locked up?
Why these people can't get locked up? Because they try to lock you up. They try to lock you up real fast.
Real fast. Don't you see how fast the police come to us in City Hall?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we haven't done a fraction of what these people have done.
A fraction. Oh, we just try to get some justice and some compensation.
That's all. That's all. And look at that. You know, the issue is enough of them don't go to jail. See, I think That's the reason why when we had these conversations, whether we talking to Democrats or whether we talking to Republicans, it's very important that we let both sides know that we hold both sides accountable. Right now, we're in a wave of getting on the Democrats, and rightfully so, rightfully so. But in all our getting on the Democrats, we cannot let the Republicans not be held accountable for the part that they play. Now, when I say the part that they play, I mean when we talk about our issues, because stop giving me the stats on us. Stop telling me about well on the South Side, because how do you know you're not even over there? Let's talk about what you know about. Let's talk about these corrupt judges. Let's talk about the CIA and the crack epidemic. Let's talk about all these mass shootings that you all do.
These guns are still being dropped off.
Right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let us talk about what we know about street violence over here in the inner city. We'll talk about that. But now you all need to talk about white collar crime, because we know white collar crime manufactures street crime, just like the CIA manufactured the crime that that resulted in the crack epidemic. White collar crime manufactures street crime. Look, 50 Cent is an expert at showing that. If you look at some of his series that he have on Stars and stuff, right? Notice he shows that a lot, that the street vendors, the street crime. But he's showing you almost in every episode where these black drug dealers get the drugs from. And none of these black drug dealers get the drugs from black people. They be different types of white people, Russian, Italians, Asians. That's who they get the drugs from. And then, like with everything else, black people become the face of it. So I'm going to need you to stop talking about us and talk about y'all.
No, real talk.
That's one way that this stuff can get, that's one way this stuff can get solved. It requires just a teeny bit of honesty on both sides.
On both sides. That's why I feel like with this series that we're going to start, we're going to talk about all the sides.
We have to. If you want some healing, if you want some healing in the land, like the Bible says, if the people who are called by my name, well, humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, and then I hear from heaven to heal the land. Right, the people. Now that the people could be black, white, young, old, Asian, Mexican, and straight, gay, whatever, the people.
Right. But we gotta, we gotta, the uncomfortable truth. We gotta, because that's something that we hide behind, and we don't want to discuss it because we think that it's embarrassing. But what's embarrassing is how we don't fight for nothing. That's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing that we have all these black people that are in government on the Democratic side and get quiet when it comes to stuff like this. It's sad. Today there was a lady, 60-year-old lady, who came looking for her. She's homeless down there, and she was riding the L. She's been riding the L for 2 days. She didn't want to ride the L anymore. And she saw us when we helped this lady named Miss Charles. We see Peanut Head David Moore right here and talking to his cousin that came from Memphis. She's so happy of her disgraced politician cousin.
You
And
are funny.
Danielle goes to him and says, "Hey, we're trying to get this lady into like a shelter. It's cold outside." He talks about 311. So
Huh.
so what I had to say was, then here comes Monica Gordon coming out, Cook County clerk, right? And they
Mm.
waving at each other, and I said, this is why we have to get these coons out of office,
They gotta
because it's
go.
three
They gotta
between
go.
him and her. Y'all see this black lady right here, 60. She's 60 years old. She's senior. I mean, she's the oldest, right? And she's riding on the train back and forth. And you gonna say you are an alderman. You could have
Easily.
took her to a shelter off of you being alderman. David Moore, hello. I'm dropping her off. She came to City Hall. She's homeless. We got she's
Put a
freezing
call in.
outside. Yeah. Hey.
Put
So,
a call in.
and finally, after Danielle said something, because I think we called 311 and they said they didn't have no beds. After that, he finally called the commissioner. The commissioner then calls the lady, and then in about 40 minutes, they come pick her up and take her to the shelter. You see how easy that was?
They choose not to help us.
They choose
They're
not to help us.
choosing, right? They're choosing. We're looking at a mayor right now, that's
Right
going
now.
all in for these illegals. We're looking at a governor right now that's going all in for these illegals. Yet, I know firsthand, Brandon Johnson will not lift a finger to straighten out this issue with my building.
Same with me. I said today I'm texting
It's
one of all the women.
unbelievable. It's
I'm like, he's
unbelievable.
trash. She's like, he is the city services is the problem. No, he's the mayor of the Chicago. What are you talking about? He's appointed all these Hispanics in these roles, and none of them do anything for black people.
At all. At all. At all. And the
Yeah,
black ones don't either.
and the black
The
ones
white
don't
ones
either.
don't either. The couple of Asians don't either. We
No
have
one
sat
does.
in City Hall. No one does. We have sat in City Hall now for almost 3 years.
The only reason why
And
they
you
talk
tell
about the
me
budget, is because we talk about it.
that's the only reason
They was
why.
never interested in this budget. They
Never.
were never interested in this budget until we started talking about that budget, because we had no choice when we started talking about the budget, because y'all wasn't listening to nothing else we were saying. So once we started talking about this budget, then all of a sudden, y'all interested in learning how the
In the
budget works.
budget. In the budget.
And
then it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's like, I remember you speaking at the mic one day and you said it's almost like y'all take an oath that say, I promise not to help a nigga. I promise not to help a nigga. I promise. It's so true. It's almost like they taking an oath.
Right.
I promise I will not help a Negro.
At all.
And
Scott's what's it?
what they say, Scout's honor.
Scout's honor. I promise I won't help a Negro.
I promise I won't. And they don't. And they don't. I have yet to see them stand up and whatever the question we pose, whatever issue that we pose, I have yet to see them stand up and say yes. I have yet to see them say, okay, this is how we're going to work this out. And you end up with an actual result. I have yet to see it. I have yet to see it.
But they will be at all the NAACP galas. They just did an Urban League gala this past weekend. They all there with their glitz and glamour.
They're going to be there.
For what?
But for what? But for what? You've never seen nothing like it. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to start voting some of them out.
We
I mean,
must.
they got to go.
They have to go.
There's no other way around it. Between the politicians, and it has to be stricter laws about these judges. These judges, it doesn't make sense in the state of Illinois that you could be a judge and have no fear whatsoever of being disciplined, being removed from a bench. But it doesn't make any sense.
It has to be Operation Grey Lord. It has to be. So like, you know, my thing is
but a higher one than that.
Well, no, you know, it's gonna be called Jessica. It's gonna be called Jessica and Zoe. That's what it's gonna be called.
2.0.
Yeah, 2.0. It's gonna be called. Yeah, but honestly though, we have to. We got.
It has to happen.
It has to happen, but we got to get these people out of office. We gotta get people out of office.
Well, it's twofold. It's twofold. I think that we have to really look at what's happening with these elections. All this talk about how elections in Illinois are rigged and this and that. I mean, all those things have to start being highlighted. People have to really understand how serious this is. This is serious. If Black people don't do something, if we don't take advantage of these 4 years that Trump is in office, we're going to be in bad shape. Because it's no guarantee that the next Republican that gets in office is going to have a mindset like Trump has. There's no guarantee. We could get another Republican president, but for all we know, he could be a Reagan Republican. He could be a Bush Republican. He could be a Nixon Republican. Trump is a
one of a kind.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to take advantage of him being in office. We got to get some of this stuff. Now, we're not going to be able to get everything because 4 years is not that long. And you see how much pushback he's getting because the Republicans are just not strong enough for something. Especially not here in Illinois.
I just need he needs to do two things. Send the military in.
Wait a minute, was those balloons?
Yeah, I don't know how this happened. Send the military in because we're at no point of retirement. We need the military. We need the military in Southside because if there's some blocks on the South Side, even though I know crime is down, but there's some blocks on the South Side that you can't even go on because they're gonna have to kill themselves, all of them, in order to get them blocks together because they're so far gone. There's nobody to regulate the law, regulate the gangs, right? So say there's one gang on one block, there's another gang on this block, there's another gang on the other block. So it's 4 gangs all in one block. Now they do this together, but they fight with each other. So there's no way. There's police that don't even go down that block because it's over. You understand? One of them blocks is this block that when Peter had Alderman thought he was going to spend the night out there. And then they finally, the police had to come over there and say, look, it's not safe because they gave him 1 day out there and then they start shooting by his tent. Now go on now. Because there is not safe. So you have to bring the military in. You don't need to bring the military in for our crime, the illegal immigration crime, and then Little Italy, Little Village in them. They wild over there too.
Right. I was gonna say, when you say about the gangs being in 4 blocks around each other, whatever, and then you say, well, it's nothing that the police could do, just let that be. I take issue with that because this is what I'm hearing because I ain't into gangs or whatever like that. But this is what I'm hearing, that the logic to them sending some of these illegals over to our neighborhoods was because they said this type of Hispanic gang didn't get along with that type of Hispanic gang or whatever. So they said they would put some over here and take some over there to keep them separated. And my thing is, you don't get to clean up your problems on our back, especially when we, like you just said, that gang turf right here that the city has let them, quote unquote, battle it out on top of each other to the point where them killing each other in these big numbers. But when it comes to them, it's supposed to be a care for their lives. That you separate, you put some of them over here and some over them over there. So when you say to me that you got 4 blocks of gang radius, and that again, we talking about things that are planned, things that are systematic, because you can't tell me that this city would have so much concern
it's definitely
about
systematic.
the illegals.
It's
Right,
definitely
about
systematic.
the illegals being separated. But then, but don't care about our gangs being on top of each other in turf wars.
Crime is down.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
I
I know
keep telling you, I've got 6 or 7 or 8 that need to be locked up right now that they won't come and get.
Yeah.
Come and get Judge McGuire. Come get Judge Gallagher. Come get Judge Daniel B. Malone. Come get Judge Timothy Evans. Come get Judge O'Malley. Come get Louis G. Apostle. Come get Tina Lustropoulos. Come get Leah Jubakowski. And come get that bum tenant out my basement, Dolly Quinn. That go 9 to 10 arrests, legitimate arrests that need to take place.
The tent was where they were shooting near his tent. He was on 73rd place between Ida Street and Racine Avenue, and the superintendent had to come over there and tell him he couldn't be out there no more. But
and how long was he out there for?
Now Sim said he was out there for a week. Even after they did tell him to come. Now Sim said that he was out there for a whole week. He also watched him call up somebody and tell them to come demolish the building real quick too. No court order. You know what they do. Just knocked out of there, because he said that's the building that they was using to, do whatever they was doing in there. But they had him knocking down. Now that I can see you knocking down the building. You understand? But you just knock it down anybody's building. But you see how easy. But you see how easy it was for him to just call whoever, and Sim said to just knock the building down like that. No court order, no nothing.
No court order, no nothing.
No, just knock the building down. So, but we know the crime is not down. So I feel like I wish and I pray that it happens. That he sends the military in, and that he sends in the feds, because there's enough to charge this administration. I don't care what nobody say.
Oh yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, there's more than
Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker got us in so much debt until it's going to take generations before Chicago gets financially sound again. These illegals have to get out.
No, they have to.
I believe, like I said, I believe both parties had a part to play in it. But I think Biden opening up that border wide open like that, I think that was not a part of the plan. I think that's a part of the plan that went wrong. And I think that now Trump really has no choice but to handle it vigorously and harshly, because if not, then you leave it at the world saying that it's very easy to invade America.
Well, the only person who ever had the strictest border laws, or was trying to do, was Trump. No one else was. He was the only.
Yeah, they said Obama was the master deporter,
but he didn't have. But he didn't have that. See, Trump was.
But he wasn't trying. Trump tried to stop him from coming in.
Yeah.
Getting them out and stopping them from coming in.
Right. So I feel like, Trump, even though I hate that he's going through the motions and they got him as the worst person on earth, but it had to take him to dismantle the establishment. And I feel like it's up to us, and I say us meaning my generation, and like I said, and somebody, if we had a million Jessica Jacksons to advise the young, and this is real because also you're an accountant, and I think a lot of people need to understand that too, because you being an accountant and then you being an accountant to one of those largest school districts in the country, you know, you already had called out things like the Invest Southwest money long before anybody else did and things like that. I feel like that plays a major role into all of this. And I feel like with him breaking the establishment, and he is, because he calls out the rhinos. He calls out the rhinos just like he
Yeah, yeah.
calls out the Democrats. It's time for us to organize and to test everything that they're saying. It's rigged. You're not going to win here. Well, let's see. Let's see.
Let's see.
Let's
Let's see.
see.
Let's see. I'm calling on the Republican Party to come forth with some real candidates, with some real agendas, with some real determination to get the black vote. Because, like I say all the time, the Republican Party cannot get Chicago if they don't get the black vote. That's what they got to get through their head.
William J.
And that's what
Kelly
they're not
finally,
getting in their head.
and William J. Kelly brought it up the other day. He said the Republicans are not going to win nothing if they don't get the South Side vote.
I think I did hear him say that.
Yeah, he said that. He said that, and it didn't go anywhere either. Now all his stuff goes everywhere, but that
didn't go anywhere.
That didn't go nowhere, and he said that because he knows that. Everybody knows that. But if he knows that, how many
everybody knows?
Everybody knows that. So,
and the Republicans don't want to do that. They don't want to do what they need to do to get our vote. Now, why that is, I don't know. But I do think if we have any chance of having that real dialogue and having any type of breakthrough with that, I do believe it's under Trump.
Oh, it definitely is under Trump. But I feel like what we have to do, what we can't do, we can't say on here because, they got everybody watching. They have to say it. But I got some plans. And I feel like with your expertise, Mama Dora's expertise, you got some other people on that's willing to help as well. White people too that get it, that understand, that they need the black vote. I feel like if we all come together,
yes,
and we do what we push, and we show them that we're going to do it without y'all, but it'd be in the best interest if you jump on board.
If you want Chicago, if you want Illinois,
because you're not gonna be able to win the governor's seat without Chicago. So y'all can go down downstate all y'all want. And
Carbondale is not going to do it.
I love downstate. Downstate want us to come down there. We do need to go down. We do that little tour downstate.
And we can. But they still gonna have to get the black vote.
Yeah, exactly. And that is where you're gonna have to get it. So
they gotta be, like you say, it's an uncomfortable truth.
It's an uncomfortable truth.
But this is where it is now. The Democrats have reserved within themselves that they can say, kick rocks to the black vote because we're gonna bring in the illegals. Exactly. That's what they have said.
And we're gonna put them on, and we're gonna put the black seniors on the street, knowing that they vote, knowing that the black seniors vote, but y'all don't even care about them.
We're gonna put them on the street.
We're gonna put them on the street.
We're gonna put them on the street. Okay. Now, the Republican Party. This is the thing that gets me, because we're not demanding anything from the Republican Party that they in and of themselves claim that they stand for.
Yep.
They say that they stand for the Constitution, right? They say that they stand for biblical principles.
Biblical
right?
principles.
That's what we're asking. Reparations is a biblical principle. The Constitution says the 13th, 14th, and 15th are your ratification amendments. So you got it biblically and you got it constitutionally. We're not asking them to do anything outside of what they say they are.
And if you
We're
want
not bringing in anything new.
anything new, and then you have the president right here. That's the current president, who has
Yeah,
told you guys consistently that we
consistently.
that we have built this country. He also is fighting right
He
now.
said it several times.
He also they just talked about the other day, bringing up the ending of the Birthright Citizenship Act because the 14th Amendment, even though he's saying it wrong, he says it's meant for slave babies. Now he's saying it exactly how I need to say it, as slave babies, because y'all need to understand. Okay, y'all understand what he said. I understand exactly what he said. I understood exactly
Right.
what he
And
said.
they do
And
too.
yeah, he's the only one to sign these executive orders when it comes to sovereignty. He's doing everything that, but people are so busy letting people distract them with the hate and all of these things. This man, he didn't cause all of this.
No,
All of this BS that's happening in the
no,
government.
no.
He
This
didn't
is
call
years and years and
this is
years of
years
build
and
up.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the problem is, see, and I've said it before, the problem with Trump is he was a familiar candidate. See, the other presidents, we didn't know anything about them. We didn't know nothing about Bush. We didn't know nothing about the Clintons. We didn't know nothing about Nixon, or we didn't
Obama.
even know nothing about Obama.
Right.
Trump, on the other hand, was somebody that we were familiar with.
Yep.
White people knew who he was, and black people knew who he was. And he had a decent relationship with black people. It wasn't that black people was crazy about Trump and nothing. No, but he did have a relationship with black people over the years. So when he ran the first time, they wasn't talking all this racist stuff about him. They was too busy clowning about the fact that he would never win.
Right.
Right. The first time, that's what Hollywood and stuff was clowning, that he would never win. Okay, then the second election, it went however that went. And then when it came for the second and third election, that's when they started all this racist talk about him. Because they know black people so well that you mention the word racist, we off and running. We can't hear nothing else after that.
It's like
We off and running. It
Speedy
just makes you
Gonzalez.
wonder. Yeah, how did they get past? How did they get Biden past us? Because he was hooked to Obama.
Because
So
someone
because he
did
was
say
hooked to
earlier
Obama,
today. Someone said earlier today they were saying they said I can't believe the person said I just can't believe that we let this guy become the vice president, and then off to vice president to the president of the United States of
and you believe
America.
that?
Yeah, Reagan did come from Hollywood. So I said, yeah, he did. He was an actor, I feel like the difference between and one thing that I do like about Donald Trump is that he has a business mindset, and I feel like America is a corporation, and I feel that that's how he thinks, and I don't look at it as I don't look at like the race or him being the president of the United States or anything like that. Like I agree with his tariffs. I agree with a lot of things that he does as a business person because I'm an entrepreneur, and if I was in that predicament, I would do the same thing. Some things I feel like he's not tariffing enough,
Hmm.
so I try to go and look at that part, but also understand that we are in a fight for our lives as Black Americans and as our and for parents and parents all over, because they don't have no say in the school system anymore, especially in the public school system. So I
Yeah, the
feel,
crack epidemic took all that away.
yeah,
It
and
really did.
yeah, so I feel like with listening to him on the business side, definitely agree with him. As far as I feel like he needs to send the military in, I don't care what nobody say, he needs to send the military in, and I also and I also feel like he needs to start these investigations fast
Yeah,
and
ASAP.
yeah, because it doesn't make any sense why to this day we still have not received justice.
It doesn't make any
It doesn't
sense.
make any sense, to the point now that white people are starting to call me every week asking me, can I get on a podcast to talk about what's going on, because they done read. You know what I'm saying? They went and read the complaint. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see the evidence with it, you see everything on. Now it's been crossed over because only Black people is like, for to give you all the excuses. Well, see, you ain't pay bill, or you the taxes was or they was trying to take
Uh-uh.
this. Nah, what are
Uh-uh.
you talking about?
What are
No,
you talking
no,
about?
no. They stole. They stealing property. They
They
stealing
stealing
land, and they've
property.
been doing
They
it for
are
a very
stealing
long time.
property.
Yeah, and
Yes, they are.
because why? The Obama Center, Cy Quantum. Like, let's talk about it. Like, they're building
Yeah,
up
that's
the
what they're
South
doing.
Shore.
They're
Yeah,
stealing property.
they're stealing property. So I feel like yeah. So I don't, when people try to tell me like, well, this person racist or that person racist, they don't got nothing to do. They don't got nothing on these Black Negroes in the South, in the city of Chicago, in these elected official positions. They
They
don't
ain't
have
got
nothing
nothing on
on
them.
Kwame
They ain't got
Raoul.
nothing on them.
Kwame Raoul is a Black man, the Attorney
Ooh.
General. That's Attorney General we can't even go to. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, the Lieutenant
Imagine.
Governor. Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, been in there for 3,500 years. We can't go to any of these people. Brandon
At
Johnson,
all.
Lori Lightfoot before that. Nobody, no, you cannot. We've got 20
Like
Black
you
aldermen.
said, they took an oath.
They took an oath.
I will not help a nigga. I will not help a nigga. I never. Yes, they took that oath, and how do we know? Because with our own two eyes, Zoe, we see them helping everybody but us.
But us. The
And when
fact
I say us,
that
I literally mean us, and then I mean us as a group.
no, but literally
They
you
they
and
they're, they're
I.
not helping
No,
us.
literally you and I. Literally you and I.
That's
Like,
what I said. Literally, you
no,
and I.
nobody wasn't even watching this city.
No, they
We
weren't.
we made that. We made City Hall popping.
Let me tell you something. Let's go back to Mark Carter and let's talk about that 2011 immigration plan that he often speaks on, right? And so that lets you know how long ago they had this in place, this idea that they were going to do. They had this idea in place, Zoe. They really did. What they didn't, the part of their plan that went wrong, that they never saw coming, was the Jessica Jackson and the Zoe Leigh. That's the part of this plan that was completely wrong.
Completely wrong. It went to a
That's
little
the part that
detour.
went wrong.
A detour, like
Right. That's the part that they never saw that coming. They never saw it coming. They just never saw it coming. And your case and my case gave us the determination to be down there like how we were. And we was going so vigorously with it. And then of course, George being down there, then Michael and then Sims, and just the consistency. Because remember that Black police officer with the dreadlocks, like you said, brown skin dreadlocks.
yes, I don't know where
Remember
she at.
she's
She not there
I
no
don't either.
more.
I don't know
They
her
move
or
them.
that caramel.
They
Her
moving
or bald
around.
head caramel.
and the girl, the lady, the white girl,
Oh, white shirt ponytail.
and white shirt ponytail. She gone too.
Where are they? I don't know. I don't know. But I never will forget what brown skin dreadlocks told us that day when we was coming through the metal detector thing up on the second floor. She said, y'all gonna be legends. Y'all gonna be legends. And we was like, kind of laughed it off. And she was like, no, really. All the years I've been down here, I've never seen any people come down here on a consistent basis like what y'all doing. We gave them the blues. And that was the part of their plan from all the way 2011 with Mark Carter and that immigration plan that they just never factored in. They never factored in a group of Black people that would fight back. And it goes back to what your original topic is, the crack epidemic. When they look out in our communities on the South Side and West Side, they see a bunch of done Negroes. They're done. They're done.
They count us out.
They counted us out. They never thought that we would fight back. Matter of fact, I believe the only part of the Black community that they halfway thought they might have a little problem with, a little bit of pushback, might have been Hyde Park, because Hyde Park would not want that caliber of people in Hyde Park. I think maybe they consider that, but then again, they know that area is so Democrat that they would be able to, quote unquote, win them over. They would be able to, but they never considered.
But I think we got Hyde Park this time. I feel like we got to go red.
Now I'm talking about at the onset.
Oh no!
At the onset of all of this, right. But I think now some of Hyde Park will, but I don't think Hyde Park in large numbers will. When this person told me, he said, quote unquote, he said, Jessica, I'm just gonna tell you. He said, I know you're not gonna like it, but I'm gonna say it. He said, if Brandon Johnson, he said, yeah, Brandon Johnson has messed up. He's messed up bad. He said, but if he runs again, and if he runs against somebody white, he said, I'm still voting for Brandon Johnson. Do you know how many Black people in this city feel that way?
He gotta go to jail.
Yeah, to make a believer out of Black people like that. How? When we're looking at all these Black people who haven't showed us anything, and the fact that we would still hang on to the black. And don't get me wrong, I love being Black. It's the best thing since sliced bread, if you ask me. But I can see that we are not in a healthy place politically and economically and socially either. Probably emotionally either, spiritually either. We're not in a good place. And a lot of why we are the way where we are does have a lot to do with not only, quote unquote, white supremacy, but also our Black political leaders and our Black social leaders.
Well, someone did tell me today, all the woman did tell me today that it's not MBJ, that it's the social services that are messed up. I'm like, he's the one who put all these people in the
Oh my God.
You
don't hear the words that are coming out that man's mouth.
I got hope. This is what it's going to take. It's going to take. It's going to take you, Miss Jackson.
It can't take me. I need to get rid of this cold first.
Yeah, I'm saying it's going to take slideshows, and it's going to have to go back to the day that he got in office, the day that he took that money, the day that I mean, you got to break it down to all of those things. To okay, now what has he done in the
We need to do a
community?
timeline.
A timeline. And I feel like, and we're gonna get this stuff together, but I still, that has to, yeah, like we have a accountability issue in our community, and that's all over. It's all over.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
until
yeah.
and that's why people tell me, oh, Zoe, why are you going after Brandon Johnson? Why not?
Why not?
Why are you going after the black alderman? Why not?
Why
Why are you going after the
not?
black commissioner? Why not?
Why not?
These are the people,
That are inflicting harm on us.
and these
You know,
are
that's why I used to tell y'all all the time, take pictures of them voting screens.
right.
Take
Oh,
pictures
I
of
got them.
so, and I know that's gonna be part of the timeline. Since you're saying we doing these people, the black aldermen wrong, look at how they vote. They are always voting in favor of illegal immigrants. Always.
For their TIF month. Like today, they finally gave you after Peanut Head, David Moore. My next famous Friday is on David Moore. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm doing. I gotta do it. But today they finally, because he voted on that raggedy budget last year,
Mm-hmm.
and because they promised him a field house.
I remember that.
Today they gave him
What did they give them?
$12 million in TIF funding for a field house. Now, $12 million for a field house in the 17th ward, Miss Jessica.
$12 million for a field house in the 17th ward. So it's gonna look like a Taj Mahal in the middle of the ghetto. You finna have the Taj Mahal.
This is how they be stealing money. You
This
know
is how.
damn well
Now I'm not
that you don't.
saying that he shouldn't have a new field house, but
Yeah,
you and
for
I
12
both know
million.
it's not gonna cost $12 million to do it.
I'm thinking
It's
about
just
good.
not.
I think about a million, maybe a million. If you want
It's
to
something
get like,
I don't know. I know it ain't 12.
it ain't 12. So I feel like the 11 million need to go back because we're in debt.
Not 12. It's not 12. And so much of the stuff since we've been sitting in there, so much of the stuff is staged. See, I'm realizing so much of it is staged. You have the same people who get up and give a little anti whatever speech. It'd be the same ones.
Same ones, not enough, but the same ones. You're right.
Same ones. It's gonna David Moore always stands up and give his anti speech. Anthony Bill stands up and gives his anti speeches. It's always the same ones.
Lopez.
Yeah, Lopez, Raymond Lopez. It's always the same ones.
Now Scott Wagerspeck, honestly, is my favorite alderman down there because he's
The one
tired.
white boy with the
Yeah,
black
because
glasses,
he's
he is
been very
absolutely my
consistent.
favorite alderman. Yes.
He done had it, and he's tired. He's
He is
tired.
absolutely my favorite alderman. And I'm gonna tell you, remember when that preacher was going to be over the RTD transit?
Yeah,
Remember? Okay.
yeah.
And it was the meeting in 201A. And everybody was saying about how the preacher needed to be this RTD man. And so my 3 minutes came and I said, no, he shouldn't be. He a pastor. He don't know nothing about running a transit system. And what I say that for? What was this thing? However you say his name, white boy with the black man. He looked at me and no sooner than I walked back to my seat, he went in on that pastor, asking him about what he knew about CTA, what the budget was. Had he ever? He went in. Soon as he sees an opening where he see that we ain't gonna do that, no pushback, he'll come in that lane. That's what I like about him.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in him a few times.
Yeah. I feel like him, Riley, Nugent, and I don't even like Conway, but they need to be over the budget. They should be they should be over the budget before any of this stuff is passed. Like, what's his name? Jason Irvin needs to just go
Oh
sit
my
out
God. Oh
in
my
the
God.
peanut
Oh
gallery.
my God. He
He just wherever the wind blows, he just goes. It doesn't.
he
He
is the
kisses. He
worst.
kisses whoever alderman is in. I mean, whatever mayor is in. He is going to kiss their feet and kiss their butt. He don't care if it is going to absolutely ruin his community, absolutely ruin Chicago. He gonna go because it's the butter. Because the butter ain't. If you don't butter the butter, if you don't butter the biscuit the way that you need to butter the biscuit, then the biscuit is not gonna be buttered.
How long has he been in city council?
Too long, too long. Like for real, like too long. Him and his wife, who's going against LaShawn Ford. It's like 35
Wait
of
a minute,
them.
who's going against LaShawn Ford?
Melissa Konya Irvin, his wife, again. Remember last time she was going against Danny Davis too? She tried again this time, but Danny Davis stepped down and he endorsed LaShawn Ford. But it's honestly it's like 16 people that's going for that position. And
For LaShawn Ford's position?
no, for Danny Davis position. LaShawn
But
Ford,
Danny Davis for
yeah.
Danny Davis position.
Yeah, but but Danny Davis endorsed LaShawn Ford. So you've got all these people going, all these Democrats going against it, and then you've got P. Ray as the Republican.
But she's not.
She's not.
But she's not.
Well, she's not, but she's going against them too. So everybody's just, so
But
it's
she's
gonna be
not.
it's gonna be Hunger Games for the 7th congressional district.
Yeah, because she's not.
Oh yeah, definitely not. But she's running as a Republican.
Okay, but she's not.
No, she's not.
And
So
then
yeah,
which brings on another problem here in the city. I'm saying in terms of local politics with the Republican Party. And I noticed that from that situation with y'all and McKinley. You got people here that's supposed to be Republicans, but they actually working with the Democrats. I believe it's a lot of that going on.
oh yeah, that's why.
And I believe it's on both sides. I believe white Republicans are doing it
Oh yeah.
with these Democrats, and I believe black quote unquote Republicans are doing it with these Democrats. I think that's a real problem here.
Oh, it's a real big problem here. That's why I feel like Chicago First Red is a new Republican Party. I'm not working. I can't work with these people. They are already compromised.
Not going to.
Yeah, it's there. That's not even no. We are going. We know what we saw down there. We were down there for 2.5, 3 years. We
Three
studied them
years.
people. We
Yeah,
sat in meetings with these people. We
that's the
saw,
thing.
yeah, there's
We
nothing.
didn't leave. See, we didn't do like a lot of people, like the majority of people. They come and they might come a time or two. They do their 3 minute public speaking and they leave. No, not only were we there every day, well, for all meetings, but we stayed the entire meeting.
The entire meeting to start, yeah, because once you start listening to one of the things that you had saw was the statistics.
Uh-huh.
Everything we were high in, including, like I said, I'm like, damn, we getting bicycle. We in bicycle accidents too.
That
We the
that's
highest for
what did it
bicycle
for me.
accidents.
That's when I couldn't take it no more. When I seen that bicycle stat, I'm like, okay, I can't take it anymore. Now you saying black people can't even ride bikes. Okay, enough. Don't put no more of our
Enough.
stats up there. Get them down. Get them down. Don't put them up there no more. No more.
Somebody says
Because at
that
this point,
Chicago will see its first Hispanic mayor in less than 10 years.
Maybe in less than 10 years, but it's not going to be this upcoming election. No.
No.
The city don't trust Hispanics. Like with that, they already showing us what they gonna do.
They don't look back and care about nobody.
No, no, no,
And
no.
according to our
That's not gonna happen.
comments under Chicago Foots Red, the Hispanics has called us all types of monkeys in all types of Spanish languages. Me and Danielle are I'm fat monkey, she's skinny monkey. They did a monkey with they did an AI monkey with her with the makeup on. When I say the most racist group of people that people
That's
want
the
to act,
best. That's the best they can come with
yeah,
some Mickey Mouse silly stuff. They can't come with no real conversation and real dialogue to sit down and talk about it. The best they could do is come with silliness, and it speaks to how far gone Chicago politics are. When you look at what's really down there in City Hall, when you look at what's really up there in the Cook County Commissioner, Cook County Board of Commissioners, it's like you really can't believe that these are the people that's running the city. These are the people that's making decisions about our lives. When I look at Brandon Johnson and the mere fact that he is making decisions that will affect my life for the next 4, 5 years, that's crazy because he's a nutcase. You
he
can
definitely
look at
not
him
care.
now and see he's a nutcase. He's a nutcase,
And he's a habitual liar. Because
a
that's
habitual liar,
yeah, he can't tell the truth for nothing. None of them
but
can.
nothing. None of them
Somebody
can,
says
but
that the
he's
Muslim, they was like the New York City got their first Muslim. New York City is too large. They should have every borough
yeah.
should have their own mayor. I've been said that. Same with Los Angeles. Los Angeles, Chicago is just right, and Chicago still has enough healthy segregation
Huh.
that it will not be a Hispanic mayor. It
No,
will
it's not
not.
gonna be right there.
Now,
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
Chewy
mm-mm.
Garcia's thing, possibly, I mean, state legislator or something like that. But when it comes to the mayor, no,
No, no,
no,
no. That's not getting ready to happen no time soon. The
no, it's not.
Hispanics have the Hispanics have shown themselves to be untrustworthy and to
Yeah,
be extremely chaotic.
that black and brown is just a
It's a
that
complete farce.
is yeah complete farce. They don't. It ain't no black and brown. They do not care. I watched Gilbert Villegas come out. We went to him first, and he said that yeah, you got to go upstairs. The meeting is still happening upstairs. Gilbert, Gilbert, they do not care in there. So nah, but all right, we did 2 hours. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was supposed to be 15 minutes. I'm gonna go make me some soup and go back and lay down.
All right, so we will in 2 weeks we'll start the series with the Watergate scandal first.
Okay, so that would be the 70s.
The 70s.
Okay.
So we'll start with
Yeah, that
that,
would
and
be the
then we'll go
70s.
into the Nicaragua CIA Contreras. I think it's Nicaragua Contreras. I read it. We'll get that, but
Yeah.
yeah, but Watergate scandal and the war on drugs. So we'll do that. The part two, and I'll have all my stuff. I mean, I've already, but yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, thank
That's
you.
more than perfect.
I think
You're
it. I think.
welcome.
And I think that this is where it starts, and then when it's time to get in to midterms, so somebody said we're gonna be out. We're ready. And let me tell you something. We ain't nowhere in the world Brandon Johnson getting back in there, and
No,
that's
because
just
if black people are crazy enough to keep voting for him, white folks ain't gonna vote for him. No.
yeah, yeah. And this is where my white brothers and sisters come in at. This is where I don't care what you call me. I don't care what you call me. You
I don't
call
care
me.
what you call me,
Well, I
but
don't
I
care
can't
what you
take
call
no
me.
more Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, I don't care what you call me. And we're getting these black aldermen out too. Y'all have
And
did
Tony
absolute
Preckwith.
and Tony Preckman. Y'all did absolutely nothing. So, all right, all hands on deck. I love you, Miss Jessica. Get
Love you too.
better. Feel better.
I am about to go make me some soup and lay that out.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, see you later.
Bye bye.